The government of national unity, I don't know what the question was about the government of national unity. But I mean, the ANC leadership engaged all of this, but shared the view that since we've got 40% of the votes, therefore I haven't got a majority to govern, let's approach all of the parties, let all of us come together and form a government of national unity and govern. And in the end, we have these 10 parties that constitute that. And we want, because we want the country to succeed, the economy to grow, crime to disappear, all of these things. And so we wish the government of national unity to succeed. And I hope all of the parties in that GNU are of that same mind, that the problems facing the country need to be solved. We have agreed, there is an agreement that there must be held a national dialogue. It's the first time that our country would be having a national dialogue. Because by national dialogue, we mean a dialogue involving everybody. The political parties, the women's movement, the youth movement, the trade unions, faith organizations, the academia, everybody. To look at all of these problems. And as President Ramaphosa says, in the end, at the end of that process, when the people of South Africa have spoken and said about this, do this, about that, do the other, that then becomes the basis of the government of the country. It's a very, very important intervention. And hopefully, that national dialogue process will then give this GNU the kind of mandate it needs. A mandate from the people as a whole to say, this is what needs to be done. So that they don't keep referring to their own manifestos. But to must refer to what the people of South Africa have said. Also relates to the matter about corruption, which you also raised. You know, at its conferences in 2012, 2017, 2022, the ANC took a decision, one decision for the renewal of the ANC. 3 successive conferences, renewal. It hasn't happened. You will see that in all of these conferences of the ANC I'm talking about, the ANC does a critical assessment of itself. It's in the ANC documents, you will find them on the internet. And in all of these conferences, the ANC keeps saying, the quality of our membership is declining. As a result of which you've got many people who are members of the ANC who are not ANC. Don't support his value system, his objectives, his anything. And therefore, the renewal process of the ANC must include an audit of this membership. Who are these people who call themselves ANC? There's a slogan which has become quite popular in that context, better, fewer, but better. So the ANC has to do that. I'm raising that question because you can't deal with the corruption issue without that process. I'm talking about from the point of view of the ANC. An ANC not renewed is an ANC that will continue to carry corrupt people. So the renewal process becomes a critically important part of the process of ensuring that we deal with this issue of corruption. So that's a matter that fortunately, is very much alive currently. And indeed, the National Executive Committee of the ANC actually took a decision 2 weeks back that it would actually sit for 2 days continuously to discuss this issue. What is to be done? I think everybody has understood that if you don't deal with this renewal of the ANC, you are sentencing the ANC to death. It will die without that renewal. But I'm saying that's the route to deal with the corruption issue. It's not just a law matter. Arrest whoever is corrupt. Sure, let's arrest whoever is corrupt. But we need this political intervention in order to make sure that, I think the question that was raised, the people who ought not to be wearing ANC T-shirts must not be allowed to wear ANC T-shirts. You know, the ANC took a decision about people stepping aside. If you are charged, step aside. And I tell a story of some years back, an ANC comrade who's a member of the Provincial Executive Committee of the ANC in the Free State, is also an MEC in the Free State, is also a taxi owner. So a story appears that he has been involved in these taxi wars in the Free State, and people have died. You know what this comrade did? He approached the ANC in the province, and even informed National, to say, I'm resigning as member of the PEC, of the ANC in the Free State. I'm resigning as MEC. I have not killed anybody. I will defend the matter in court. Which he did and was found not guilty. The gender-based violence matter. I've been saying to people that this country, for some reason, is exceedingly violent. Exceedingly violent. The levels of violence in this country against the person are too high. If you look at particular age cohort, I think maybe up to the 29 years or something, you'd find that the biggest cause of death is unnatural causes. Unnatural causes, single biggest. Violence. And so if you take a particular age cohort like that, you'd find the number of young men who get killed is intolerably high. Within that group, you then find women being killed intolerably high. I'm saying, therefore, my view, we must indeed address this matter about gender-based violence. But we must also address the matter of violence to create the social context within which we can more effectively address the question of gender-based violence. You can't address it. You must continue to address it. But you can't hope to produce the kind of outcome that we need to have if you don't deal with the rest of the violence in the society. You just have a look at the stats as figures about causes of death and mortality and all of that. You would see this thing, it stands out very clearly. that the level of violence against the person in this country is much too high. And look at young men who die from unnatural causes, which is violence. Intolerably high, but the country does not discuss it, as though it's okay, it's allowed. Gender-based violence must be addressed within the context of addressing the violence in society as a whole. How do we do it? I don't know. What is it? What do we say? You know, the very first judgment of the Constitutional Court, you'd recall, was a judgment which prohibited capital punishment. A very important judgment, in my view, because it argued this new South Africa that is being born must have as one of its big values respect for life, so that even the state has no right to take away the life of anybody. Respect for life as a distinguishing feature of the new South Africa. In the practice, the opposite is true. What do we do as a society to change the public mind so that indeed we support the position that was taken by the Constitutional Court about the value of human life? I don't know. Maybe our postdoctoral students would know the answer to this question. But it's a serious question. The violence in the society, in the context of which you have this gender-based violence, what do we do? And if you look at even just a week, last week or something, the police were giving the crime statistics for whatever quarter. And they talk about murder, causes of murder. And the first one is quarrels. The cause of murder. Number one is quarrels. People quarreled and killed one another. What kind of society is that? But are we discussing that as South Africans to say, how do we stop this? There's no such discussion.